Good evening and welcome to episode 130. As always, let's start with our gratitude attitude. So, if you would please gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, let all your stress melt away. Take one more deep breath. As you exhale, let yourself completely loose. Now, think of one thing that you're thankful for that happened in the past week. Once you identified that, think about why you're there. Now let's set it free. If you're by yourself, say it out loud what you're thankful for and why. If you're with someone, tell it to each other. All right. So before the break, we talked about how compassion and wisdom are the two pillars of Buddha's Sutra teachings. Today, let's discuss the second pillar. The first pillar we talked about compassion at length. Let's talk about wisdom today. If you think about relationship, if you can remove disharmony using your wisdom, your relationships are perfect. So one of the verses in the uh, Dharma text, it goes like, when I associate with others, I'll consider myself lower and hold everyone supreme. And that's the kind of wisdom Buddha is talking about. And the best way to do this is to familiarize ourselves with cherishing all living beings by putting our determination to cherish them in practice. So when you think about kindness of others, benefit of cherishing others, what happens is we make a determination. I want to cherish others. I want to love others. And we talked about this before, that what we end up doing every day depends upon what we wish for. So it all starts with intention, right? And if we develop that wish to love everyone, then we'll slowly start practicing that and grow our love for other living beings. It just will happen naturally. It's possible to do that because we all have this universal seed in us. We call it our Buddha nature, which means that we have potential to grow love, expand our love, deepen our love to, for every single person. So each one of us has this, I like to call this golden nugget, right? Where it's it's like right now there's so much dust on it, so we can't recognize it. If you wash it off, it's pure gold. Just like that. Right now there are so many delusions, anger, attachment, hatred, jealousy, all those things. So that pure potential for love we cannot recognize. The main reason why we do not cherish all living being is explained in the book Mirror of Dharma. And it says that it's because we are so preoccupied with ourselves. Because of that, there is very little room in our minds to appreciate others. So if we wish to cherish others sincerely, we have to reduce our obsession of ourselves. Because our self-cherishing, our obsessive self-concern is the source of all disharmony. Everywhere we look, our mind is polluted by the surface of self-concern. Just alters everything we see. We cannot know what's really going on because we are so obsessed with ourselves. And that's just reflected in our minds. So why is it? Why is it that we regard ourselves as so precious, but not others? I am just one person, others are countless. And why are we upset with this one person? Me, all the time. One major reason is we are so familiar with thinking about ourselves, it just becomes a habit. In book Mirror of Dharma, Geshe Kelsang Getsu says that because we are so familiar with self-cherishing, we are very familiar with an attitude that puts ourselves first. And we've been doing this since beginningless time, which is why we are still circling, right, in the cycle of life. Because we have grasped at this truly existing I. We think it's, inherently existent, but that's the root of it. We think it's exists on its own side. And that's our ego mind. And that's the root of all our problems. Self-grasping, right? Meaning we are grasping at a self that exists from its own side. We think there's a real me or a real I, and we think everyone else is not me. They are other, right? When I teach this in person, I do this experiment, and I just ask people, show of hands, point to who is me in this room, right? And everyone would point to themselves. So in a room of 17 people, I have 17 me's. That can be true, right? There could be only one me. If I was inherently existent, it would be same for everybody, but it's not. So it's our ignorance that thinks that I'm really me and everyone else is really other. And because I have this sense of real me, I then think that this me is more important than everybody else's me. So I'm more important than you, just as simple as that. I love you, I want to help you, but not if it inconveniences me. We spend so much time contemplating our real or imagined good qualities that we become oblivious to our faults. So in reality, our mind is full of delusions, right? We get angry, we are, you know, attached, we have hatred, we have jealousy, everything else. But we ignore them. Sometimes we even fool ourselves that we don't have that kind of mind. But there is, it's like pretending there is no dirt in the house and sweeping it under the rug, right? So when we think about our own faults and delusions, we want to view that from the point of view of getting rid of them, right? Not to feel bad for ourselves. It's just that, hey, I have this delusion. I gotta get rid of it. That's it. Not that I'm a bad person. Because these faults and delusions, they're not intrinsic to our mind. It's like, Buddha gave that example. It's like a salty water, right? Now, he said this before there were desalination projects going on. He said it's same with this. You can remove salt from the water. You can remove delusions from your mind. Salt is not the nature of water. So your delusions, anger, attachment, that's not your true nature. Your true nature is pure love, right? That golden nugget we just talked about. So we don't want to identify with our faults and limitations. We have to realize that we have them so we can get rid of them. Shukesha Singh says that often it's so painful to admit that we have faults that we make all type of excuses rather than alter our result view of ourselves. One of the most common ways of not facing up to our own faults is to blame others, right? You have a difficult relationship with someone, you conclude it's entirely their fault. They should really change, right? I wish you did this, you did that. And then everybody will be happy. It's hard to change one person yourself. How are you going to change somebody else? It's almost impossible. So we naturally conclude it's their fault. We are unable to accept that maybe it is our fault. So instead of taking responsibility for our actions or making effort to change our views or our behavior, right? We look at somebody else. We argue with them. They must change. We exaggerate our own sense of importance. We are seeing that in the world today, right? There's so many conflicts around the world because everyone's me-centric. We are oblivious to our faults. No, we look at everybody else's faults, pointing them out. But when they do point it out, we feel that it's unfair, right? And that's self-cherishing. That arises from self-grasping ignorance, our inherently existing self. That's the wisdom that I was talking about, is that we need to realize that there is no inherently existing self. It's a dependent existence. And this inherently existing, grasping, self-cherishing is the source of all our disharmony. If we learn to remove that, life becomes easier, becomes frictionless. It just flows, right? So that's the sermon for the day. In today's meditation, as always, we'll start with settling down at our hearts. And then let's contemplate on how all living beings are our mothers. And then how our mothers have been kind to us. And we must return their kindness. In the end, we'll try to make a determination to help all living beings because they are our mothers and hold that at our heart single pointedly. So that's the idea. If you're ready, let's get into our meditation posture. Cross seated position, back straight, spine upright, shoulders leveled. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, see your stress drip away from your muscles. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, completely relax your body like a rag doll. Now, bring your attention to the sensation of your breath at your nostrils. Feel the cool air as you breathe in. Feel slightly warmer air as you breathe out. Keep your attention at your breath for about a minute or so on your own. Bring your attention at your heart. Imagine everything that happened before this moment melts into light and disappears. Things that have not yet happened are not real anyway. So it's just this moment. Enjoy the peaceful nature of your root mind at this moment. Let this peaceful moment bring the next peaceful moment. Remember, there is nothing to do. There is nowhere to go. Just enjoy. Now let's contemplate. I had so many lives since beginning last time. In each of my lives, I had a mother. All living beings have had many lives since beginning last time. It is natural to assume that they have been my mother in some previous life. That makes all living beings my mother. My mother has been kind to me. So I must return their kindness. With that contemplation, develop strong love for all living beings as your mother, and hold on to that single point at your heart. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Any questions? Good.
No questions. I was just going to say, man, we need this
Yeah,
compassion and wisdom right now with all the college protests and stuff going on.
it's crazy,
It is crazy.
This,
I can't believe such strong views at this age.
I don't think they have strong views, Premal. I think they are aroused.
Yeah,
Okay. I think these kids are too impressionable,
yeah, but
and
yeah,
you know, they the leaders, I think, get some incentives probably,
yeah,
and the rest is, how it is, like a herd, right?
yeah.
Um,
Every school involved is the
yeah,
best of the best out there. All the big schools, like the
everybody,
really,
right? I
yeah,
mean, it just doesn't make sense, right? See,
yeah,
there has to be a, usually there'll be at least two parties. There's no second
mm,
view anymore,
right,
right?
right,
So that
right.
tells me that something's not right.
Yeah.
I
And
saw,
once you go, I mean, I have a problem even when you protest silently, but if you're protesting silently, fine. When you
yeah,
start destroying things,
destroying
you've
properties,
crossed all lines.
yeah,
Yeah.
put everything on fire.
Yeah.
You know, I saw something interesting today. It says I don't see a protest at trade schools.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
nursing school you don't see a protest,
Yeah.
right? The mechanics trade school you don't see a protest.
Yeah.
Plumbing school nobody wants to protest. So I think these are
Most of these are law, like, yeah,
privileged kids,
privileged kids.
and
Yes.
I think they've been. I think I think there's incentive for the leaders. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then after that, rest is just people learn to throw stones. So
Yeah.
they, hey, let's just. I think it's adrenaline at some point, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Eh,
but your observation is very correct, right? Because it started happening at some companies too.
yeah,
And you look at the companies where it's happening, only the people where employees are super privileged, at least like, Google, for example, they
exactly.
feel they are the top of the world for everything,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
highly spoiled, privileged employees. Yep.
Yep. Yep. And they know that if they lose a job, nobody cares, right? They have enough
Yeah.
money, enough stock option,
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a
Yeah.
it's a rich people's game.
Yeah. For universities, I'm a little worried because, see, this is one problem, right? If you set the precedents, right, tomorrow there'll be another problem, then there'll be another problem. Every group will start something.
Yeah.
It's just a very bad precedence. I'm just,
And nobody's going to, finally today, I think they said they're going to expel some kids. Until today, they didn't
yeah,
expel
they,
anybody.
today they did. And I think even at Colombia, they have finally allowed cops to get in and all of those
Yeah.
things. So,
Right. I mean, at some point, you gotta say, what are we achieving by protesting? That's the other thing, right? Destroying school property at Columbia
yeah.
or Yale or anywhere else for that matter is not going to
Yeah.
solve the problem which is happening other side of the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's like you were saying earlier in your discourse, right? I mean, they're only thinking about themselves and
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
It's just me. Yeah.
It's a strange world we live in, and world
Yeah.
needs a lot of peaceful mind. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
If
Not a
every
peaceful mind. I mean, yeah, that will bring tolerance. Basically, at this
exactly,
point, there's
exactly.
just no tolerance for anything other than me, myself, my happiness, my rules, my things.
Exactly. Exactly. We used to sit down and discuss things, right? But with social media, after social media, right?
Yeah.
People are on edge. You can't tell them a single negative things about their view. You can't point that out anymore. Before you could sit down and say, you know what, here's
Yeah.
why I think you're wrong,
Yeah.
right? And they will explain the same to you,
Yeah.
right? You can't have
Yeah.
that conversation anymore,
Yeah. It's
right?
just, yeah. We are highly polarized in
Yeah.
everything. I mean, even from basic habits to your major views and religious views. I mean, just the polarization is extreme now.
It is nuts. I mean, and the other thing is, it used to be that people would just sit down, don't worry about politics, whatever. But now, if you support, if you don't support my guy, you are for some reason you're an enemy,
You're an enemy. Yes,
right?
the
Reasonable people
Bible.
should be able to disagree,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep. Exactly. That's been the problem.
Yeah,
No, even with, like you said, the social media generation, even with kids, right? It's impossible to reason with kids this way. They are so strong
right.
in their views.
Exactly. Because I think it's an echo chamber,
Hmm.
right? That's why I try to on my LinkedIn feed. I try to, uh, give thumbs up on both ends sometimes, just so
Hmm.
that I don't get into an echo chamber, right? I want to see what the other guy is thinking,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
if he's right, I want to learn that, right?
yeah,
I mean, it's just nobody wants to do that anymore. So
yeah.
sad state of affairs, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah, it is. It is getting worse.
it is getting worse. I feel for my kids. It's
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a challenging world they live in. I mean, we live
yep.
in, but we are towards the end.
Yeah, we are going. Yeah, we are
Yeah,
not that much. They have the whole
yeah, exactly,
generation.
right? They're just starting out.
Yep.
So I feel for them, but
Yeah.
nothing we can do, my friend. So
Well, I'm actually happy we can do this.
exactly, right? I mean, if,
Save
if our
our
mind is
sanity a
peaceful,
little bit. Yeah.
yeah, if our mind is peaceful, at least we are not
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
a whole hoopla. So
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, this afternoon at work coffee, they started discussing this, and I'm like, I do not make comments on these things, right?
yeah, I mean,
I have my views. I'll keep it to myself, and
yeah, yeah, it's scary because the moment you start talking, man, I mean,
yeah,
they'll remember for rest of your life.
yeah, yeah.
And views change, right? I mean, I had
And
different
views
views.
change. Yeah, I may feel for somebody, and if he
Yeah,
does something else tomorrow, I may feel differently about the person. Right?
and
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's the other thing, right? People think that if you change your views, somehow you're an idiot. But that's to me that's sign of maturity, right? I
Hmm.
have more information
Yeah.
and I'm evaluating, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
oh well.
Exactly.
All right, my friend.
All
Was to
right.